Oh, let me just start like Gio. I was surprised when this was announced. Obviously, the two men in front of you guys knew a little bit about this. I asked you guys before, you know, how good did it feel to finally announce this fight? And being on the such a big card like Canelo Crawford.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've known for a while. We've known for probably close to 90 days or 75 days. Obviously, we're told like with having a non-disclosure agreement that we can't go leak it, which is good boxing sense. Especially Turkey has a habit of not letting the card go. He just doesn't leak one person out. He has a day where he has waves where he lets everybody know that's going to be on the card. So we've known, all of our loved ones have known, all of our close friends, the team. So of course, when they started to leak a couple of names that were for days earlier and not on the Canelo Crawford card, and then they'd the main three or four, I think Marco Verde had been leaked too. And they're kind of looking at us, and we're like it's going to be leaked. I swear. And then what is it? Voila, it's here. So
Yeah,
And
for me, I was they kept playing well this whole time. They've been saying the fight will take place here, but you guys gotta wait, and we're not sure. We got to get all the paperwork done and set. So you guys just keep training for this fight, but um, we'll be able to let you know all the details and information as soon as when Turkey says that we can do so. So for me, I was like, all right, man, it's just send a contract if you guys mean it. But at that moment, they was like, no, we will send it. You just, just wait. Just know you're gonna fight. But and I was like, man, it's like the hurry up and wait game.
there's also other weird stuff that went on. We're not going to go too much into detail with it, but just imagine that we were told that we're having the fight, and then all of a sudden we're getting emails that are misrepresenting themselves from their organization, the promoters organization, that's saying that the fight is off and so forth. We don't know if that's from their team. I know that there were some games that had happened between Keyshawn and Dennis Berjek. I know it's kind of the same people, but it didn't. We just we just trained as usual that day. And when we talked to each other this morning, the morning that it happened, we were, just imagine, we don't know where it came from. I said, bro, we're going to continue to train as if we have a fight. Something might be going on. So there's been a little bit of games going on here and there. Nobody really gives a shit. We've been around the sport for a long time.
So
and
Brandon,
then when you guys have,
yeah,
oh, good Gio.
I was gonna ask Brandon. So you fought Bohachuk in 2021. You knocked him out. Was this something that you were looking for, or was it more of their team looking for the rematch?
Well, I'm a fighter, so I knew eventually he would want to fight me again. Or maybe he didn't want to fight me again, but his team wants him to redeem himself. I feel like this right now, he's on his redemption. They want him to right his wrongs, right? So they want him to fight me, and then he's supposed to best me, and then that should give him an opportunity to fight for his title back. When Virgil, because him and Virgil fought, and Virgil took his title, which is crazy that he came in on the B side of a fight where he was the champion, which is crazy. But boxing is boxing, and crazier things happen. um, so going into this fight, my mindset is knowing that Boachuk knows a little bit of what he's getting himself into, besides the slippery slope of the fight that we had last time. And this time around, when he and I get in the ring, I'm sure he knows that he will have a more complete Brandon Adams in front of him, just like I'm expecting a more complete version of Boachuk.
Well, there's other things too. I think, just to talk about too, is like watching Sergey Boyachuk's career the last couple of years. Of course, I'm going to tune in. I think Sergey is a great fighter. I think he's got a great team and all that stuff. But there was a part of me that would look at Brandon's trajectory with his career and looking at Sergey's trajectory of his career, and he seemed kind of kept like a silver spoon. I kept on giving him 360, fights and Chumash or Commerce, and meticulously, carefully choosing his opponents. And then I have a guy over here that either people don't want to fight, or he's being blocked by his own promoter at that time. So there was a little bit of a dichotomy, like a little bit of a juxtaposition going on. And Brandon will probably won't say it, but I'll say it, that he's always, when he's seen people from his team or Sergey saying, "Oh, rematch, 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 rematch," and in some ways he manifested it himself. I don't know if it's coming from them. They never that I've never seen them come around and say that they wanted a rematch. The man next to me, in fact, I've heard him say to Tom Lawfer, his training staff, the fighter himself, Serhii, that he wanted a rematch. And I don't think you know, like Brandon said, he's a fighter, but when you look at a guy's career that you know, I don't know if he knows how great he had it. I think
he had a perfect career.
It's like a silver spoon kid.
18-0, 18 knockouts, and then me.
Yeah.
And as far as you know, he felt, and him and his team, they're like, "Yo, man, you were smacking Brandon for 8 rounds." I've heard that this came out of their mouth. He was dominating Brandon for 8 rounds, and then he got overzealous, and Brandon, you know, hit him with a shot, and he didn't recover. And I was like, damn, we wasn't in the same fight, like, or at least we didn't watch the same fight. And at that point, you know, the fighter in me, like I said, man, every wrong that I have been in my whole career, I've always rather have chosen to righten it by trying to get back in the ring and refight those guys, or if not fight those guys, fight guys that are at the caliber or not, or if not better. And I knew eventually him and his team was going to come after me and look for a fight, because you know they're a promotion, they're fighters, and they were thinking, especially after the last fight that I had, after all of, you know, that controversial decision, they were like, "Oh, look, well, you know, this is a great time to fight Adams," and I was like, "This is a great time to fight Adams."
Yeah, I actually think it was Turkey and the promoter, to be honest with you. The magnitude of the event, then looking at the landscape of the people at 154 and being like, hey, if we're going to give this guy another opportunity, which they give Sergei's probably a millionaire because of the virtual opportunity that he had, that, oh, why don't we go back and get this rematch with the guy that actually knocked him out? I don't think it's anyone specifically from his team, because like I said, when Brandon did say those things, I never heard, yeah, let's do it, baby, let's do it, let's make it happen. So it's hard. When his team, I want to say specifically the promotional side of things, that looked at the opponents available, that said, you know what makes a lot of sense is that this guy is a guy that we think he is, Serhii Bohachuk. Why don't we put him back in there with, you know, the guy that put him out cold, that ruined his night? So that's just, you know.
Just to that, honestly, man, they kind of made me seem like I was a bully. I would walk up and I would go dolo. I would go solo. I would go by myself, and we'll all be going to a fight together. But then I'll take a side mission, and I'll go over there and be like, "Yo, Tom, what's going on, man? How my man Boychuk doing?" And you know, he'd look at me and smile, you know, like, huh, huh, huh. You gonna get yours. I got a bunch of boys at your weight. And I just used to genuinely ask, because look, I'm not a bad guy, everybody knows, and I don't think bad of Boychuk. I like that Boychuk is a warrior. And I was like, yeah, man, well, I know Boychuk's doing great. So whenever, if you guys ever wanted to get that fight going, one of the nights actually, it was a night that they were fighting at the Commerce Casino. I walked over there and I was like, "Yo, Tom, you looking good in all white." And he looked at me and he looked at me like, "Oh." So then I was like, "I just want to come and say hi and tell you, man, you guys are doing, this is phenomenal. 360. This is beautiful. This would be a great event." And then I walked away. Sure enough, Boychuk's wife looked at me like, kind of like, she glanced at me like, "Damn, he looks familiar." But I think she kind of like, she put two and two together, because then when I saw Boychuk, I said, "Boychuk, what's up, man?" Sorry, he was like, "Oh, hey, Brandon," but I could tell he was like, "Oh shit!" Like you could tell, like he had butterflies in his stomach, and for me, it was great seeing him. I didn't think nothing of it. Like, "Oh shit, I know you want to whoop my ass." I didn't think anything. I just was like, "Yo, it's great to see you, bruh. And look, you doing well. You got a family and everything. It's great to see you, man. Well, y'all have a great night, and don't forget, Brandon Adams is still on your list, and I know you want to get him." And I walked away, and we joked about it. It was fun, at least for me. You know, I don't know if he laughed like, "Fuck him," or I don't know. But culturally, I would think, because culturally, the Ukrainians, like, they're competitive in boxing. So he was like, "Yeah, one day I'm gonna get you," and I, you know, just walked away. Didn't want to disturb anything or anybody.
Yeah, I know a lot of his people. They're great people. They're definitely like, you know, shout out to a lot of people's team. They're competitors, and there's nothing there. But I mean, there is, look, as being someone that, you know, Brandon is born and raised in Watts. He's, you know, in the heart of it. From looking at someone come over here from the Ukraine, and I think for them opening up golden doors and giving opportunities to fight in places to catapult them all the way to one of Turkey's cards, and to also give him this position. I mean, he thinks that he has a chip on his shoulder in the mountains training for a rematch. First, he should ask himself, why does his team bring him to the mountains, a place where he's never been before? I know they run Baldy to prepare for Brandon. And second of all, maybe his chip isn't that big because he's had it pretty damn well his whole career. He's had it pretty planned out. So Brandon's going to come up there, bust up his plans again, and derail him. So that's where our heart is at. And no matter what, we're going to get the fight of the night. I genuinely believe that.
Oh yeah, like I said, I plan on seeing the best version of Serhii Bohachuk. You know, the tireless, the volume. Um, um, Maybe he's even stronger than he was able to show the world, and maybe he's a lot faster. I'm expecting to disarm that and disrupt that version of Boychuk and show that I'm the more superior boxer and the superior fighter.